The goal of my channel is to show you just real data, real information, along with what I'm seeing myself, but not just my own opinion, but what I'm seeing with my clients, colleagues, and the data reported. Now, if you're paying attention to big media, you may have this confirmation bias, or at least that is being reported to you that the market is soft, homes are not selling, and a crash is imminent. Now, I'm not saying a crash is not going to happen, but what we're experiencing right now is home prices are going up. However, we are down in home sales looking over the last year, 2 years. And I'm going to go over a little bit of the data showing, some contributing factors to the home sales that are down and what that means if you are a seller in today's market, a buyer in today's market, and should you even think about buying or selling while we're dealing with a lot of this uncertainty of what's happening right here in the Arizona housing market. Welcome back to the channel. It's Rich Brecklin, your Arizona real estate agent with Real Broker. Like always, I'm going to share some info from the Cromford report because it really gives a great overall up-to-date statistical reporting on what we are seeing, so that way we can understand where we've been, get a good idea of where we might be going. Now, there are some leading and lagging indicators here, so take it with, again, a grain of salt. Like everything, I try to use every data point possible, put them all together, come up with the best hypothesis, conclusion of what is going to happen, so I can inform my clients of the same. Now, active listings, again, we are under inventory for what we need here, and that is helping keep prices from falling and in fact rising. But really what I'm talking about today is in one part the sales per month and sales per year right here. So if you look at listings under contract, that is up from last month, last quarter, but from last year and 2 years ago, that number is down. I mean, it makes sense. Homes, they're expensive, more expensive than 2 years ago, and it is more expensive to own that home because of the rates from where they are compared to a year and 2 years ago. Also, when you're looking at sales per month, that is down as well, but it's up from last month and last quarter. But very significant drop from a year ago and 2 years ago. And then sales per year is was falling and fell pretty hard. We were down, I believe, 44% year over year in home sales, but has more to do with more than just your traditional buyer. And I'm going to get into that here in a moment. But month supply of inventory is still dropping, still don't have enough home sales. And then your average list price to sales price, is up, but down again. And then listing success rate still trending upward from last month and last quarter, but down from where we were. And then your average monthly sales price, again, a big jump from what I reported on last week up to $541. Average sales price, guys, $541,000, which means you need to make a little over 150 GCI or 150 grand gross to be able to afford an average home here, which is wild. But again, up from last month, up from last quarter, down from last year, but up from 2 years ago. So that is where we're at. And then the Cromford Market Index, again, above 100 sellers market. Again, we're trending upward, up from last quarter, which we were seeing some numbers, some areas reporting well below 80, but down. Last year, the sales rate is very low. If you look here, we're well below, from 2020, 2021, and 2022. And that's where a lot of people, when they see this information, sales are down, sales are down. Well, it goes beyond just your typical owner-occupied home, even your average investor. So here in Phoenix Metro, there are a lot of iBuyers, hedge funds, a lot of things are tested here. But if you look here at the stats they put together, this week we recorded a closed sales rate of 6,500, per month across all areas and types. That's 25% below last year, week 11. However, significant improvement from where we were at the end of last year when sales were 44% lower than a year earlier. And again, part of that decline comes from these iBuyers, hedge funds, huge investment groups, like a company that I've worked with before called Blackstone with Home Partners of America, who pulled out of over 30 markets across the US. So when you're looking at these hedge funds, iBuyers, pulling out, there is a huge impact in Phoenix Metro where they had such a footprint. So iBuyer purchases are now almost non-existent, down about 95%. Zillow buying nothing, Redfin nothing, OfferPad down 100%, Open Door down 93%. And they also reported iBuyer sales are also down more than the overall market. They're about 62% 2022 levels, although Open Door recently stepped up sales, especially to one institutional buyer, and institutional investor purchases are down around 69%. So that is a huge part of our market are those iBuyers. Like I said, when I worked with Blackstone and their program, they were buying homes like crazy. The amount of money they were spending on homes, well beyond the list price, was shocking. Now, if you're a traditional buyer, owner occupied in this market, that should make you happy. So now you are not competing with those huge hedge funds, billion-dollar companies willing to overpay and push you out of the market. And that is a good thing. So that's, again, less now sellers. A lot of sellers took advantage of that, cashed in. However, for buyers, that just became another obstacle for you to overcome. The rates are what the rates are. This impacts of how much they can afford. But as of today, across the nation, we're at 6.62%. So up slightly from where we ended last week. Again, we'll see what happens this week and what goes on and what kind of information is reported. And like I said, we're still down in inventory. Single family detached, still under 11.5 at 11,321. Like I said, in the fall, we were at 17,500, which was honestly below where we should be. But we went from low to that number pretty quickly and really shocked everyone. Again, with these higher rates, when rates creeped up to almost 7.5%, caused a lot of buyers to put that on hold. So what does that mean for you if you are a buyer in today's market or a seller? Well, it really depends on your situation. If you're moving here and you're moving here no matter what, like, hey, I got to move here, then what do? Do you go rent a home where, depending on where you want to be, your rent's going to be $3,000, and then the same mortgage on that house is going to be, $3,600. Again, it depends on what you want to do, what you're financially comfortable with, and how much you can afford per month. I'm not a fan of renting for myself. It's just not something I don't like paying someone else's mortgage. But for some people, it just makes sense. The good news is, yes, on paper, it is a seller's market. However, if that home is not priced where it needs to be, does not show well, then buyers still have control as far as getting incentives. So that is one thing. So sellers, if you're looking at selling your home, a lot of sellers are not selling because that home they've owned for a few years, it's going to cost them so much more, as you just saw, 43% more to buy the same home. And then rates are going to be higher. And then if they're upgrading, it's going to be even more. So we're seeing sellers pull back. But right now, with lower inventory, some sellers, it makes sense. Sell their home, cash in the equity, and maybe rent and wait things out. But for how long do you wait? Again, that's kind of a case by case and personal thing you have to understand of what it is you're going to do. But for the buyers out there, again, just weigh your options and the pros and cons of buying now, waiting, and then what do you foresee rates doing. And I never like banking on the idea, I'll refinance later, because what happens if rates go up? So let's say you're set on buying and you get in at, let's say, 6.5%. Well, you're locked in there. You don't want to pay that rate, but it is what it is. And rates go up. Well, at least you're locked in at that 6.5. And then let's say rates do go down. Well, then you could refinance. But that's why I'm a big fan of getting a seller concession to buy that rate down, either a temporary buy down and then refinance, or doing a life of the loan, full buy down and getting a lower rate there. But that's a whole other video. So let me know what questions you have. What do you foresee happening here? Do you foresee a flood of inventory hitting the market, or do you see it being status quo and it's just going to be a little uncertain for a while? But let me know in the comments. Love reading them. Love your messages. And again, it's Rich Brecklin, Real Broker. I'll see you on the next one.